There's Wednesday night phone-in, no longer Thursday night. We've shifted, we've flitted, we've moved house. We're now in a brand new slot, Wednesday, 8 p.m. On YouTube, or another time if you're listening to it on a podcast in your car, going to work, whatever. It'll not be Wednesday, 8 o'clock anymore. It'll be whatever time it is when you're listening to this. And I hope you're having a good time, whatever it is that you're doing. Anyway, we've got a fairly shambolic performance on Saturday to discuss. John's put some lines on his background here to illustrate a potential offside. Looks offside to me, John. From the disallowed goal, so I dare say we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what went wrong, plus anything else that people want to talk about. I'll apologise in advance. It's bonfire night. I've got a dog, so if you hear barking in the background, it's because fucking BAMs are letting off fireworks left, right, and centre outside, and I swear they get louder every year. And at the risk of making a pun, which isn't an intended pun, it sounds like they're playing the fireworks through a subwoofer tonight because the bass on them is incredible, shaking the whole house. So, fuck you if you're setting off fireworks and annoying dogs. That's my theory here. If you're enjoying them in the safety, no annoying anybody, good on you. And if you're a dog or a cat, you have my utmost sympathy. Joe, you were first on just before we started. You sort of mentioned it didn't matter about the VAR, we were shite anyway. What's your thoughts?
Well, basically, I mean, we were crap the other day, and there's no getting away from it. If Bowie's goal had stood, we would have taken it. Obviously, it would have been a disservice to the overall game. I think we were lucky to get away with a draw, by all accounts. I wasn't at the game, but from all the reports I've seen and the clips I've seen. But let's hold our breath for a minute. We've got the nucleus of a good team here. Had we managed to hang on there, we would have won 3 out of our last 4 big games. Most of that team is pretty good. I think we need to make a couple of fundamental changes. I'm screaming for Mulligan to play in the middle of the park rather than on the right wing back. And I think he should give Megwai his chance or something like that. But notwithstanding that, I think just keep playing the same team. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the days it was the same 11 every week. Before we had squads of 23 and 16, 17 players getting in a game. But I still think if Hibs stick to the same 13 or 14 players for the next few games, we'll be more than fine. That's my view. Yes, Livingston was a terrible performance. But notwithstanding that, keep the faith with the guys we've got. I don't think it's panic mode in any way.
One of the things you mentioned there, Joe, was if we'd held on, would have been 3 wins out of 4.
Yeah.
It feels like a bit of a season of if we've done this, if we had to concede those 2 goals to Kilmarnock or the 2 to St Mirren, are we at risk of having an if only season?
I hope not. I mean, that could be the case, obviously, but I hope not, because I think we've got pretty sound defence. If Ahura comes back from injury, hopefully, for the weekend for the St Mirren game, the team more or less picks itself, other than, 1 or 2 positions. But I'd say 8 or 9 of the positions are obvious because there's a consistency with a lot of players. But as I say, I'm screaming for Mulligan to be played in the middle of the park. We need that midfield general, certainly until Dylan Levitt gets back from injury. We're lacking that midfield creator, in my view.
And we spoke about it before, Joe. The reason that Mulligan's playing out in the right wing back position is because a bit of drop in form for Chris Cadden. This is
when's the other young laddie going to get his chance? Megwai. I mean, he's only had 1 or 2 games, but he's played pretty well. For goodness sake, give the boy a chance. That's my view. If you look at what's happened with Celtic and the temporary manager giving a couple of the young players a chance, my God, it's helped them loads. Now, it's early days, I know. But I think giving that young laddie his chance is the obvious thing to do. Because Chris Catton, certainly for a while, should be out of the team. And if we're going to continue with the 3-5-2, he's certainly an obvious. I mean, we gave the laddie a 4-year contract, and that was about 18 months ago. So, come on, Hibs.
So, with you're putting Mulligan back in the middle.
Center, yeah.
Who's alongside him? Are you going with Barlaser or are you going with Chaiba?
Chaiba, definitely. At the end of the day, Barlaser's not our player. He's not our player. We've got him on a season-long run. Chaiwa is. And I think Ian's alluded to this in previous Cass. Let's stick with our own players, not with the loanees.
Okay, doke. Ian, I'll come to you next. That's a nice segue in. Thank you, Joe. What were your thoughts on Saturday, Ian?
Well, I mean, Joe's been very negative there. I'd like to list all the positives from Saturday's performance. I'll do that now. Then there was none, of course, there was none. So I had a miserable start to the day. I started cycling to Livingston, and I've turned back after 400 yards because it was pissing with rain. By the time I got to Livingston, there was not a cloud in the sky, and it was incredibly sunny. Saturday nights used to be my Northern Soul nights. So I used to go to, no matter how crap the game was, I used to go to Northern Soul Dance with my son or my daughter, and I no longer do that. So it was utterly miserable. Hibs made it miserable. As Joe said, Chris Cadden, if he got a drop in form, then Canary Meg was his replacement. He should have played instead of Josh Mulligan. We're only playing Livingston, for God's sake. Mulligan was hopeless against Rangers in the League Cup game, and he can't defend. Chris Cadden's a better defender than Josh Mulligan. Josh Mulligan's a midfielder, and the coaches have to stop playing him out of position. It's a complete waste of his skills. He's a really, really good driving midfielder. So we have to play, if Chris Cadden's playing badly, we play Kanaya Megwa and we keep Josh Mulligan in midfield. He's so much better in midfield. And but Scott Pittman at age 33 was having spent 10 years of his career at Livingston. In one half, he was more effective than our midfield in two halves of play. Unfortunately, Barlaser was invisible again. After the Rangers game, in which he was equally invisible, and the coaches have to take responsibility for that. If he's not playing well, they've got to do something about it. But they left him on for far too long, and he was invisible completely. And I'm not saying he's deliberately hiding, right? But if you watch the game, you hardly ever received the ball from the keeper, which cuts off, a third of our out balls. He never made runs to make himself available. That's the thing that drives me up the wall. I mean, we're not talking about a young player here. He's a 28-year-old player. So he's coming to us as a finished article. So, here's a finished article that you can put straight in your team because he's a good performer and he's made all the improvements that he's ever going to make to his game, I think. Whereas Levitt's obviously the future. Levitt's 3 years younger than him. So we shouldn't be playing Barlaser at all if he's going to play. Well, he should have been subbed anyway because he was doing nothing, and Scott Pittman just closed him down brilliantly. O'Hara should be playing instead of Rocky. Pretty straightforward. O'Hara's been playing really, really well, and we're trying to shoehorn in Rocky, who used to play in the middle of the back three. I mean, when I look at the thing I've been going on about for weeks now is the number of shots on target we've had.
Yeah.
I think we had one against Rangers, I think it was, and we had 5 shots on target, and that was from 7 shots. We only had 7 shots, and whereas Livy had 10 shots, and they also had 5 on target. And I tried to remember what they were, but I had a look at the Hibs highlights. And the 5 shots on target was Boyle's trundle to the keeper through somebody's legs. So I think it got deflected there. Boyle's chip to the keeper, which is again straight to the keeper. Hoylett's pitiful header to the keeper from that brilliant Boyle cross. And then the 2 goals. So that was our shots on target. I mean, so in other words, 3 of them did not threaten at all. At all. It's just hopeless. And obviously, if you look at the stats here, you see that Livingston had 6 corners and we had 1. And obviously, these dead ball opportunities, everybody's focused on them these days. But the dead ball opportunities are key to getting the goals. And of course, that's where Livy managed to get their goals. It just kept on. If you keep on getting corners, something's going to happen. But we should have. Obviously, we saw how fabulous Chaiba was when he took them on. He took them on, and I remember there was a guy next to me when Nicky Cadden came up against a player, and I screamed, "Take him on!" And the guy next to me said, "He's not good enough to take him on. He can't actually beat a player." Whereas obviously we saw Chaiba creating the goal for Boyle simply by taking people on. And that's what we should have been doing. We should have been attacking them. As soon as we scored that first goal, we just should have been attacking them non-stop and really killed them off very, very early and let them back in the game. So terrible performance, stupid coaching decisions, and they just have to. I mean, the key, I think, is to just agree that Mulligan is a midfielder. That's dead easy to just decide. And once you've decided that, then you get a little more stability. And so I'm very disappointed.
I know one of my good friends, David, be happy to hear you say that. He really rates Mulligan as a midfielder and not so much on the right hand side. So I know he would agree for sure with you there, Ian. Jeff, what were you? What did you think about it on Saturday?
I try not to judge Hibs' season for any games at Livingston. I've never seen a good game there.
Yeah,
ever. Even when we win, comfortably, it's not a good game. It's just we take our chances and move on. So it was disappointing losing the late goal. We do seem to have a habit of sitting back as the game goes on, defending a lead rather than pushing up. I'm not talking about all that attacking us, but pushing 10 yards further up the park. It was apparent on Saturday at the game that we kind of invited them on, especially when we took Boyle and Clegy off. Not at the same time, but we left no pace up front at all to try and pin them back. Interesting, because Ian's mentioned Rocky there, and he's not the first one. On another pod, they mentioned Rocky and O'Hara coming back in for him. Rocky's not the problem on that right-hand side. Rocky saved us a few times on Saturday. I know I'm not saying O'Hara shouldn't get his place back, but that is not a, Rocky can play there. It's simple as that.
So you think that's not a priority to shift?
Yeah, I'd like to know what the difference was between Rocky's performance and O'Hara's.
Well, the difference, as I see it, is O'Hara gives us far more attacking options. So O'Hara has gone forward in the way that Iredale has on the other side. So O'Hara's done that quite a lot recently, and he's got a very good pass. That's the reason.
Yeah, well, I disagree, Ian, but anyway, opinions are opinions. But the thing is, and Mulligan at right wing back was probably our best player, along with Chaiwa in the second half from that position. Now, I like Mulligan in midfield. I'm not saying we should play him at right wing back, but he brings a dimension there. He was just thundering past them. They couldn't cope with him and Chaiwa on that side. So it kind of it's not Mulligan's fault that we've no one else that can play midfield or take his position. So I would definitely play Mulligan in midfield, but he had a very good game at right wing back. He can play there. Ian goes on about he got beat 5 times by Gassama at Ibrox. Gassama created fuck all at Ibrox. He may have dilly danced around him a few times, but I wasn't bothered about Mulligan in that game at all. Just the whole team was off the boil. So as regards Mulligan and Rocky, I'm happy with Rocky being at right back. I'm happy with O'Hara being there as well. 2 different players, but that's not the problem in the team at the moment. The problem is that we concede the midfield. Whether that will be sorted by Mulligan moving in there and perhaps Mulligan, Chaiwa, another, maybe Joe Newell when he comes back. That would be a good midfield 3. McGrath gives us some craft and he runs about a lot, but we haven't got a real midfield enforcer at the moment. Maybe Chaiwa could do that with a bit of help.
Jeff, what do you think was the difference on Saturday? So the last 2 times we played Livingston, we changed the team about both times. We were really comfortable in those games, won them comfortably. We go 1-0 up within, what was it, 19 seconds or something. And then, we were second best all over the pitch. What do you put that down to?
On Saturday, well, the first half it was attitude and application. First half, we got the early start. I don't know whether getting the early goal made us think this is going to be easy. We've beaten them twice already. They've not laid a glove on us really, and we've scored up to 17, 20 seconds. It must be very hard to. I think they automatically went into like second or third gear, and once they were getting overrun a wee bit, it was hard to just put it back into fourth or fifth, whatever it was. And maybe the game against Rangers took a lot more out of them on Wednesday. Livingston didn't have a game. Maybe they were fresher. I know they're professional footballers and it shouldn't come into it. But I'm trying to think why that first half was so abject, and it was abject. You know, we were there, and so I just think they ran harder than us and wanted it more that first half. We just thought we'd turn up, we'd beaten them twice, score an early goal, and it wasn't until half time that probably Davy Gray gave them the hairdryer. The second half, it was different. We were good, you know, good in the context. There was Livingston, all the things that go around playing them on that pitch, and I know the pitch is better, and you know, but it's still got unpredictable bounces, and players can't play the natural game on it. You know, with a twist and turning, it just does your knees in. So, and I heard somebody criticise the subs, saying after the subs, we never did anything. It was after the substitutions that Hoylett missed his header. Mulligan missed a chance. Bowie's goal was chalked off. Hoylett had another shot where he should have got it on target. These all came after the subs. It wasn't like we scored the goal, made the subs, and sat back.
That's a fair point.
But what happened was, when we took Boyle off, I think that was crucial because they just pushed up and we got deeper and invited him onto us. And there's nothing you can do about a player that sticks his arm out when the ball's coming towards him. It's like the start of last season. Individual mistakes are costing us points. You know, but that was a bad performance on Saturday. That was like St Mirren or Ross County at home last year. We got away with the Ross County one, the St Mirren one we didn't. But that's not indicative of how we normally play. Just unfortunately, we had Rangers and Livingston back to back. The Rangers one was an anemic performance, but that was down to Rangers. You know, they nullified us, no matter what you say.
There is we were talking about an extra time about this sort of sitting back at the end of the game and our propensity to concede late goals. And one of the theories that we came up with was, I don't know how you would describe it, maybe Gray showing his hand too early. Like we make the 3 subs or 2 subs, you know, more often than not on the hour. And it doesn't leave Gray with much scope to react to whatever the opposition manager does. However, they know what we've done and then can react. So do you think there's anything in that line of thinking, Jeff?
I don't think the 3 on Saturday was particularly showing his hand. We brought Bowie on, big target man up front. We still had Boyle playing alongside him. Am I right? Boyle came off after Cleege.
Yeah.
Who else came on? I can't remember.
Hoylett came on, Naden and Bowie.
Yeah. So, you know, because Ida went off. He wasn't having a particularly good game, and I was happy with that. Putting Obita back at left back, left wing, left centre half. Nicky Cadden, he's just gone off the boil. You know, his crossing, which is the one thing you want him for. That's 2 games. I can't think of him putting 1 crossing.
Aye.
You know, teams will get wise to him. They close him down quickly, but he can get it out of his feet quick and cross the ball. He wasn't always getting a lot of time last season, but this season is just I don't know. He needs to find an uptick in his form, and we'll be fine. So, Gray showing his hand. I don't think those 3 subs particularly showed his hand. I thought maybe taking off Boyle and bringing on, was it Campbell came on for Boyle? That showed him that, we'll get Campbell in for his aerial ability, probably especially for defensive headers. Maybe gave Livingston the advantage there. But Livingston brought on the big guy up front. They already had another big guy up front. I can't remember who it was.
Big guys just
it's a good theory. It's a good theory, but I'd have to look at all the games. Get John or Colin to do a chart and see what the subs are made. Because a lot of the time we were criticising Gray for not making subs. You know, when the players were obviously run out of gas. So, you know, I don't think he showed his hand particularly with the first 3 subs.
John, I'll come to you in just a second. I'm just going to catch up with some of the YouTube comments. Thanks for everybody who's left one there. So Kieran said, all right, guys, let the stress release begin. Davey said, evening bangers. I've got nothing to add or say. I'm just here watching and listening. Well, good to have you watching and listening, Davey. Sandy said, evening long bangers. Happy Guy Fawkes Day. Jambo shirt on ours. Bring on St Mirren. Kieran said, since the Bolton pre-season game, we're not really playing well this season. If we start playing well, the results should come. Keep playing like this and we'll be mid-table this season. And Sandy said, hit like as you join in. Yep, if you're watching, please do hit like. Michael said, Levitt's not the future. His deal's up at the end of the season. And Kieran said the whole team was invisible, bar 5 to 10 minutes of the game. And we've had no attacking threat from any of our back 3 at all. 0 passes into midfield, head down and thump it as far as you can under no pressure. Stephen said, sorry I can't join tonight, lads. Parental duties. Saturday's an absolute must win ahead of the international break, in my view. Would have preferred almost anywhere except St Mirren away. And Sandy said, on the Premiership list, our top scorer is McGrath with 4 and top assist is Mulligan with 2. There's the problem. Our strikers are simply not striking enough. John,
Can I comment on one of those points very quickly? Levitt's deal's up at the end of the season. He's not our future. That's a very valid point. Why, is he just hanging on so he's going to get a new deal with another club? Because as we all agree, he's arguably our most creative player. Why the hell haven't they sorted out a new couple of years extension to his contract? I find it strange.
You have to wonder what the stumbling block is there. So I guess with the contracts, it needs both parties to want to do it. So you wonder if it's Levitt or Hibs or maybe even both of them have decided that maybe hopefully they're working on something. I'd like to see Levitt stay. Could be. John, I was going to ask you before I got your thoughts on the game about Sandy's point about the problem with strikers simply not scoring enough. What are your thoughts?
I think that he's right. One, we've only got 3 strikers. I mean, so we have to remember that we've come into the season a striker short. We've tried on the last day to get one, but we're a striker short. Ellie's just back to fitness, is rarely used. None of the youngsters are coming through. And Boyle has been off, hasn't been playing his best over the last month. And Bowie hasn't been able to hit the back of the net for about 2 months. So, yeah, nails it.
Thank you. Okay, what were your thoughts on the game?
As good a start as you could wish for. It's having been at Livingston so often, you're blinded by the sun at the start of the game, and the ball goes up, and we get that early goal, and you can just feel the crowd relaxing, and you're thinking, good. The guy who's missed a penalty on Wednesday's got a goal straight away. That deals with the mojo side. And if I'm honest, I think that's what happened to the players. I think the players relaxed, and I think Colin mentioned it earlier in the week about that idea where you score early and you just sort of relax into that, yeah, this will be fine, rather than realising it's Livingston, it's the Premier League, and you've got to fight for everything that you're due. And we didn't do that. We're then had to suffer one centre forward pinning down 3 centre backs. I think Livingston played something like 4-2-3-1, or that's what it looked like. I mean, they took out our wing backs by having a midfielder on them. They stuck somebody on Barlaser who clearly was a magician, because whatever cloak they put on Barlaser, he disappeared. And we couldn't get the ball up to McGrath or Chaiwa because they were covered by the 2. I mean, and we were suddenly looking for centre backs to give inspiration in terms of passing out. There were the occasional times where we moved the ball quickly enough and got down the side. But generally we had Hanley in the middle, passing it to somebody, them falling on their arse, or the pass missing them by about 3 yards, or going far enough away that they were having to come back anyway. We had Salinger, who for the first time this season looked a bit edgy. I mean, he fell on his arse in the first half. And it was just one of these games where you felt as if we went from a really good start to a team that became really unsure and had no idea how to deal with Livingston playing 5 players in midfield, just blocking off those options. We had no movement coming back from Chaiwa or McGrath. The difference in the second half, it seemed to be that Chaiwa was coming back to get the ball. We couldn't get the ball wide, and we just lose our shape. I mean, Hanley correctly gets a free kick, but he gets one of those free kicks when the first equaliser goes in, simply because that's one of those stupid free kicks where the forwards had a hold of his arm and he's going down.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's the one that the forward never gets that, the defender only ever gets that. No, I mean, so you take the luck in that. Their goal we've suddenly decided that our left centre back and our left wing back have to be pushing onto their back four. And we decide that there's a side of the pitch that they can just have free access to. I mean, and it's from a coaching perspective. I don't know what the fix is, but I'd imagine that the bench are looking at that going, how the hell did we get into such a poor position in terms of rest defence? Who's meant to be going in there to cover for Iredale? Who's meant to be dropping back in the middle of the pitch to cover? It was basic things like that. I think the word that I had coming out the ground was insipid. I mean, you start brilliantly, you take it for granted, and you do nothing. I mean, it was like somebody dipped a tea bag in the tea right at the beginning, but took it out straight away and then tried to sell you that that was a cup of tea. Really, nothing in it. Sorry, I came in to lift the mood.
No, you're all right. But actually, we saw like Hibs performances like that, and now and again, like we had a couple of them last season. We've had a couple of them this season where you just look at it and you think, what the fuck is going on with this team? But it was definitely a game where very little seemed to go right for us.
It just felt as if in the first half, Livingston just sat off us, waited for us to screw up a little bit, get the ball back, and then just charge. I mean, we didn't look as if we were genuinely putting them under pressure at the back. I've got a bit of sympathy for Collegiate at the moment. Referees seem to be allowing forwards just to get a forearm into his head, sort of doing the height difference thing. It happened against Rangers all night. It happened a few times at Livy where he's just getting a forearm into the side of the head or the back of the head. That should be getting sorted out. I mean, it's one of those things where you almost want Gray to complain about that at the end of the game. I mean, so the referees are forced to look at it. But he was getting thumped around. Something silly. Wasn't somebody, I mean, I thought, couldn't find anything really wrong with Boyle and Clegy in the first half because they didn't really have anything to do. If I contradict that, having seen the highlights, the dribble shot that Boyle does in the first half, where he does what Boyle does, which is there's players round about him in better positions, but there's never a pass on for him. Passing it inside to McGrath, who's breaking through the middle. I mean, was the ball. But that was just a bit meh. Second half, I mean, I sat with my son and I said, look, sometimes we have halves like this, but we rarely have two bad halves. I wish I'd shut up. I mean, we had a 20-minute period at the beginning of the second half. Jeff's right. I mean, we created good chances in that period before and after the subs. And we just didn't get the third goal. I mean, the one that really stuck out to me was the Hoylett header. I mean, it was a beautiful ball in, and that was a defender's header back to the keeper. I would almost, having seen the outcome, I'd rather he tried to chest it down. I mean, or something, because he's probably got the skill set to do that. But no, he has to be hitting the inside of the post with that header and getting some power on it. It was just rubbish.
And we need to talk, John, because you put the background
Yes.
here, the offside decision. So Bowie scored to make it 3-1. The goal gets, the linesman flags offside, VAR checks it, says yep, it's offside, goal gets disallowed. What were your thoughts?
I saw that, to me, everything I've seen from VAR is that we're over relying on it for such small decisions. I don't think there was enough there to overturn the on-field decision. The on-field decision is no goal. We have points on. Now you could argue that have we picked the right part of striker's body, because that seems to be his shoulder rather than the t-shirt line. We're picking up a bit on the Livy player. The lines that are getting drawn seem to be about half the width of the arm. The player closest to us, I mean, is about twice the size of Bowie, just because of how far away Bowie is compared to him. So the reason for putting this up is I think that there's a point where VAR has to say we can't overturn the on-field decision. No, I mean, it's not the idea to argue about where the lines are and all this sort of stuff. I was saying to you, I mean, you can't see a defender's foot. I mean, you're saying there's other cameras that would pick that up.
Mhm.
But I think there's a point where VAR has to turn around and say, see with offside and how the resolution of the picture, the where we can put the marks, the difference in perspectives, actually that's too close to call, so go with the on-field decision. That's the change that needs to be made. And we wouldn't have got the goal because the line's been flagged. I mean, but that's the thing for me in that decision.
So see, in that instance, so John, like had the lines been flipped around there, and the linesman's
Yeah.
flagged it, and they do this, and they've got the technology, they can look at it, and it would have been
The
on
Hibs calf would be
onside.
on, and VAR is the best thing ever.
Tremendous. That's exactly the correct answer.
If I'm honest, but I'm doing it from the point of view that this would have been the goal, the changing point. I think that's where the problem comes with the discussion on it, is that it is so close, and when you're looking at it and how fuzzy it is, I mean, it's being presented as this is actual fact, this is really, really precise and detailed, and no, there's an error in there that needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, Ian, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I've got to agree with John. I think had the linesman not put his flag up, then I think I don't think it would have been given offside. I don't know. Have we actually heard the reasoning? I assume the reasoning is we've not, as John said, we've not seen enough to overturn the referee's decision.
No,
That's-
the reason's the lines. Like they've drawn the lines. They've marked it out, and they've marked him as offside. They've measured it and said, based on that defender's position and Bowie's
Yeah.
position and those points, he's offside, and the linesman was right.
Yeah, yeah. My point is though that if the linesman had not given it offside, right, I doubt very much whether VAR would have interfered.
Well,
Right.
they check every goal, and they would have checked the line, and it would have been the same markings that they've drawn. It doesn't change anything.
So you're saying it's actually conclusive. I remember Joel Murray and Cliff Pike both on the Hibs TV. Both agreed that how can they make that conclusion from that picture, right?
So but they didn't make it off of that picture. This is the whole point. It's a misconception. The VAR decision isn't taken for this still. They use this still illustrated where the lines are, but to get to that point, they've looked at least 3 different camera angles.
Yeah.
Where they decide where's the furthest point forward on the player on Bowie, which is his shoulder. Where's the furthest point forward for the defender? So it's not the boy at the front of the picture who's close, not far away, small or big, not far away, whatever Father Ted thing. It's this guy in the middle. His shoulder's the furthest back point for the defender. So they tell the person who operates the Hawkeye system, click it on Bowie's shoulder, click it on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. The system draws the line, so there's nobody then. Nobody draws the blue line down to the ground or the red line down to the ground. That's all calibrated for the system. They click there, and they say, where are the lines? And it's come out, says offside. But every goal gets checked. So the whether it's a goal with nothing wrong with it or whether there's like loads to check in it, they check every single goal. This one, whether the linesman put his flag up or not, this is the image that we would have seen.
All right. Right. So I mean, I've always been of the view that VAR, and I realise this doesn't apply, but I thought it was good fun on extra time when you were talking about this, and also talking about the guy who posted was on Hibsnet about the railway lines about being further off, getting bigger as it went further away. I mean, I really don't care, but I've always been of the view that VAR should only be used as it is in American football. In other words, if the linesman had not put his flag up, then would the coach have challenged it? Would he used one of his 3 challenges? It might well have done and come to the same conclusion. But obviously, this is not why we lost the game. It's not why we lost the game. So we need to, we should have been attacking more. I think the positive out of that is the fact that Kieran finished it really well. And I think that'll have given Bowie quite a wee boost in confidence. As I said last week, I didn't expect him to be able to retain his place in Scotland squad, and he's not because of his loss of form. So he has to start scoring goals. And the problem is that as I said to you the other night, Matty, the problem is that there's no really bad teams in Scotland because of the influx of French and African players. I mean, I think St Mirren have got three, and Livy have got three, and obviously we've got ours as well. And so there's been quite an influx of new players, and as a result, they all seem to be playing at a high level. And certainly St Mirren are better than Livingston. And so I don't think there's. I mean, Scott Pittman just showed us. He was the most effective player in the first half by a long way. And so I think the quality of the Premiership this year is even higher than it was previously.
It's definitely a really tight league. I think that's you see that with the number of draws and the fact that we've managed to draw as many games as we have, yet still be sitting in third place. I'm just going to pick up a couple of comments from YouTube. Jack said, "Hello, I was at the game on Saturday. To be honest, wasn't best pleased with Hibs' performance." Jack always gives Jack's vlogs a wee plug on the podcast. So if you're on YouTube watching already, when this video finishes, go and check out Jack's C99 vlogs. His Livy vlog is good. You get some good match action and reaction in there, and a good pie review as well, which is always a good thing to see. Kieran said Livingston weren't just stopping us from playing, by the way. You could justify them being a stronger team with better quality. Rab said the team just doesn't seem to want it as much as they did in Europe. The drive or confidence has totally dropped. And Michael said, just my opinion, but I think we have a cracking set of players in this squad. And for me, the weakest link is Gray. Tactically, I don't think he's got what it takes to take us any further forward, but I would love to be wrong. Jeff.
I thought the change. Barlaser was the question that I came out of the game with.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. He came in initially and didn't set the header alight, but seemed to then, from the Aberdeen game where he played really, really well, in the Rangers game, he was as effective as anybody else on the pitch. I mean, we felt as if we were getting somebody in that position. And I came away from Livingston saying, can Chiva play that position? Now, that's a fan who's just prepared to shuffle the pack and come up with Football Manager, change everything for the next game. But that's where my question came, because the centre-backs should never be in a position where they're the ones that are driven to find the 30-yard pass. I mean, they clear the ball, but the truth is that they're defenders because their skill set is not long passes. I mean, or dribbling or taking the ball up the pitch. And that's what we really lost, simply by one player following Barlaser around.
Is it a tactical decision? Like, are we... So, when you look at... There's been loads of complaints about the style of play this season, right? So, I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. I think there's been several complaints. There's several poor performances, some good ones in there as well. Last season, we used the wing-backs really well. And we created chances. We've definitely seemed to be more direct, but the payoff is, if you look at the number of chances we create, we're one of the top teams for creating chances. Do you think it's a tactical decision, John? That we've kind of gone, we're not too fussed about how we create the chances, but going long is paying off.
I think that seems to be the way that we're playing, but I think a lot of it is because the options in midfield aren't there. We create as many, we're really good at finding a side of the pitch. And if we can get the wing back linked up with the midfielder on that side and the centre back on that side, we tend to do well. There was a couple of times in both halves where we get the ball out quickly to the wing back and we're pushing up the pitch and we're playing around Livingston and we get to the edge of the area quite effectively. I mean, and it's quite, you can see that shape and that's what they're clearly doing in training. That's what they're trying to work out. The problem was that Livy were just set up to take space away from us. I mean, they weren't trying to sort of chase us down. It was man to man and wipe out space. And we were just too slow. There was a couple of times in the first half, shouting at Hanley to get it out to the left Iredale because of beat us on the halfway line standing on his own. I mean, because the Livy midfielder just gone into the middle more. One time we did it and we got it out and we're up into their half. The second time, it takes the extra second and a half, 2 seconds, and by that point, the players drifted over. It's those sort of things that felt, and that's what I mean about us being that bit off and just sort of settling in. That sort of sharpness and drive to go forward, find an attack in place. Barlaser doing a position where he can get himself 5 7 yards away from the player who's trying to pick him off. I mean, that's what he needs to do. And if he's not got that energy, then that's a question. Love him to prove me wrong at the weekend, and I'll be curious as to what changes get made. But that middle of the pitch, not being able to take the ball in there, not be able to spread it out wide, not be able to change sides quickly enough, and it all going through Hanley was the problem. That's one.
Yeah. Joe, we've got two contrasting comments on YouTube here, right? So Michael's one I covered off, which is he's saying that he thinks Gray's tactically not got what it takes to take us further forward. And then Sandy said, I'd like Gray's a massive future at Hibs. None of this chopping and changing ever works. Now, we were really clear, I think, on Sunday and certainly in extra time that there's absolutely no question as on the podcast talking about David Gray's future, like for driving that conversation, but we have to, when people raise it, we have to talk about it. So both sides here, keep him or is the issue. Where do you stand on David Gray, Joe?
I cast your mind back to last season with a 17-game unbeaten run, and all the chanting for David Gray was well justified. He's not suddenly turned into a bad manager all of a sudden. Don't forget he's brought in all these new players. It takes time for these new players to blend. We've got the new goalkeeper, we've got McGrath and Mulligan, and as midfield players. Craigie has only just come into the team. It takes time to gel. But I do think something that Ian said a minute or two ago, even though that goal of Bowie's was disallowed, it'll give him some confidence. And he's going to be on fire. There's three types of motivation. There's fear motivation. If I do something wrong, I'll get a spanking. There's incentive motivation. I might get a sweetie. But the most powerful motivation is self-motivation. And he's going to be really motivated. He's lost his Scotland or place in the Scotland squad. He's not scored in so many games. He's going to be on fire. And I can just see a pairing of him and Craigie and give them a few games together up front. And that could, and Mulligan in the middle of the midfield. And I think we could be okay.
Excellent. Jeff, what were you with the David Gray question?
It's a non-question. We're third in the league. We've had some great performances in Europe, not so good at home. A number of factors. We've not taken our chances. The XG is telling us that we should be scoring more goals. No matter about the style of play. If the players did their job, and especially the people who have had the chances, we would not be having a conversation about David Gray at this moment. Exacerbated by the fact that the Maroon Balloons are top of the league. Everyone's looking at it through that prism at the moment. And that's, if they were bottom of the league, there'd be a lot less shouts or any doubts about David Gray.
I'm currently reading a book called X Genius. It was my son gave me. It's about the benefit of looking at things like XG. It goes wider than or deeper than XG as well, the chance creation, all this kind of thing. But it extols the virtues of looking at beyond the result and saying that if you are a team that's sitting third for XG, then by the end of the season, the chances are that you're going to be all right.
I mean, you look at XG for the even just the Rangers game. It was 80% chance we'd win that game on XG, and we were poor. I mean, Rangers they were just keeping us at arm's length for most of it. But I'm not a great fan of XG, I must admit. But with my own eyes, are telling me we should have scored more goals on Saturday. So should Livingston, but we should have scored. Let's just deal with us at the moment. Hoylett's header has been mentioned. Boyle's one from the edge of the box where he chipped at the keeper. It was perfect just to curl it into the top corner. Boyle's got the skill to do that. Little things like that. Mulligan missed a header, complete fresh air at the back post, which was a certain goal. So we've created chances when we're playing shite. We've created chances when we've played well. We haven't taken them all. I just hope that we do start taking some chances and we start to, just motor up the league a wee bit and create a bit of distance between ourselves and, the bottom six, shall we say, and just worry about, just pick off the teams at the top.
Try to chip away at that. John, get your views on David Gray as well, just to kind of round it off. John, we'll start with you.
I would say, coming back from Tynecastle, there was somebody on the bus saying he was out of his depth, it was this, that, and the other. And I just shut up because I thought my question is, did you actually want him in the first place? I mean, my instinct is that a lot of the people who are turning around and saying that he is the wrong person didn't think he was the right person to start with. I mean, and we're questioning the club, questioning taking a relatively inexperienced manager. I think we would be, really foolhardy. You know what I mean? To go too far down that just now. Ian's really good at pointing out in terms of how he's developing. I think we've got a shot. Malky Mackay wasn't the most inspired choice to go into the club. Wasn't presented in a brilliant way to the fans. I don't think he necessarily went out of his way to do anything to ingratiate himself to fans. But he has a knowledge of football in the background. We've got access to the whole group. So I'd imagine that Gray's got contacts down at Bournemouth as well and others across that side. So he's not on his own. There will be people looking out for him in the background. He's got a good team of coaches round about him, and the team is playing as effectively as it's done for a couple of years. There are maybe times where we could turn around and say that we had 85% possession of the ball and still got beat 2-0 and could be accused of playing prettier football. I think we're much more effective. I just want him to find a way that his battle that you would expected to have come through shows a bit more in games like Saturday.
Agreed. Ian, how about you?
I've really nothing to add to what's just been said. Jeff, agree. It's a non-question. And then exactly what John's just said. What John's just said about the people that are saying now that they don't want him are the same people at the time when he was appointed. They said they didn't want him. So I agree completely with John. We're watching him develop, and that was what I thought earlier. What John's just pointed out there is what I was thinking about earlier. When I was thinking about the call, I was thinking, what would normally happen in this position is you would get some mentoring. You would get some mentoring, you get a few suggestions. I mean, obviously, I'm quite happy that if David Gray was to listen to our podcast, they'd just say, don't play fucking Mulligan at right wing back. Right? But no, David Gray, we've got to keep him. It's utterly stupid to even suggest that we would change him.
Okay, right. I will spend no more time talking about it because it's not a conversation I particularly want to be fueling. So, St Mirren on Saturday, Joe. What are your thoughts?
It's a long time since we've beaten them, and St Mirren will be on a high after their semi-final win, so it's going to be a real toughie. But if he plays Kieran Barry up front with Quidgy and Mulligan in the middle of the park, I think it's about time we beat St Mirren. I think there's every chance we could.
Well, Jeff, how are you feeling for it?
Yeah, it'd be a attritional battle. I mean, that 4 they scored on Saturday was an anomaly. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They've only scored 8 goals in the league compared to our 18. So you see where their problem lies. Right? Defensively, they're 2 goals better than us, but they're nothing to fear. Some of the group chats we've had, I can't remember which ones it were. People are shitting the bed about going to St Mirren. I'm like, I've never shat the bed going to St Mirren ever, even with the worst Hibs teams. Mm-hmm. So it'll be a good game. We know what to expect. They'll have 2 big guys up front the whole game. They'll try and turn our defence or pick up the second balls in midfield with the 3 giants in midfield. Just play around them. We've got the players to do it. I wouldn't say I was confident, but I'm confident we can get a result there. I'm not scared of going to St Mirren.
I think I agree with Joe. We're definitely due them one, aren't we? Like they've
yeah. I mean, we were robbed at Easter Road.
Yep.
Last season, we were both kind of robbed at the last game of the season. Well, second last game of the season, because they had a goal chalked off for the foul on Miller, which rightly so. It was a foul, and then what's his face? Triantis went on that Maisie, and from about 2 yards out, miskicked the ball. It was easy to. It was harder not to score. So we should have won that. In my opinion, we should have won that game anyway. So yeah, we're due a win. Sure.
We had Manny, his debut there last season as well, didn't he? He came on and got sent off 2 yellow cards, 2 nonsense yellow cards as well, and lasted 4
couldn't wait to get his
minutes.
card out the second time. Could not wait without taking a step back and going, "This guy's just come on." You know, it was nothing malicious about either foul. If one of them wasn't even a foul, but yeah.
What gets me with, like, you watch I kind of was a red card in Old Firm games, so maybe not the best example, right? But see, why do referees not referee all the games like the referee Old Firm? Can we talk about keep the cards in the pocket and let the game flow?
Yeah.
Like Rangers and Celtic get to tackle however the fuck they want for an hour in that game, and but then you get Manny comes on and does 2 totally innocuous ones, and the referee will give it the choice. Hands are tied. It's a yellow card. Out it comes and sends him off.
And he was influenced by the crowd as well. He was getting out of some of the linesmen and just thought, "Fuck it, I'll give them something. Give them something back."
He was.
What's the SP on Manny, by the way? Because maybe he's what we're missing in midfield.
I don't think he's that far away. I think Gray said he was back on the grass, I'm sure. So hopefully see him soon.
Just on Barlaser, I appreciate running time.
No, you're all right. Go ahead.
About him being anonymous on Saturday, and he was anonymous because he was marked out the game. Livy just put someone straight on him, so he couldn't get the ball. We do that, or we did do it with McGregor. We had Venti marking McGregor out the game at Easter Road. He was anonymous. So even the best player, but what happens is that we should be able to work around that. Okay, so Barlaser, we can't pass it to him. Someone else has to step up, because to play Celtic, you 60 on McGregor every time, no matter who. You write them off, and he's the heartbeat of that, or was the heartbeat of that team. Not so much nowadays. So anyway, that's my Barlaser. I'm not a Barlaser fan. Great game against Aberdeen, but I think a lot of players would have had a good game against Aberdeen the way they were set up in that position. Levitt would have had a good game. Manny probably, Joe Newell. So we'll see. Jury's out.
Okay, John, St Mirren.
Well, given that everybody will be who wants Gray out probably wants Robinson in. I mean, we'll see the idea that somebody who's very good at recycling players from the league and putting an effective team out. Got to look to ourselves. We've just got to turn around. Players will have had a break at the beginning of the week. Coaches have got them out. Anything that they had from playing 3 games in 7 days, I mean, is gone from the legs, gone from the heads in terms of that side of it. Yeah, you're not going to go away and blast 5 or 6 past St Mirren, but we've got to get back to getting 0 goals conceded and score a couple up the other end.
How much? Just I'll come to you in a wee minute, Ian. But that point you make there, John, about the clean sheets, like getting 0 conceded. If you're David Gray, we talk about all the chances that we're missing, but we are still conceding goals as well. What do you prioritise first?
Scoring goals is the thing that you have to fix, because that'll win you games. I think the bad luck can lose you goals. I mean, I think that the bad luck on Saturday was the penalty kick. I mean, the balls come at a forward in the ball. I mean, and hit their arm that is out from their body. I mean, it's not. There's no doubt there's penalty, but his hands aren't up in the air in front of him. I mean, it's one of those where if it misses his hand, it bounces into the hands of Salinger.
Aye.
I mean, it's one of those where that's bad luck. The first goal was bad play by us as a team. What you need to do is you eliminate the first goal that we lost. I mean, because bad play, bad rest defence, bad covering the positions, leaving big parts of the pitch empty. You coach that out of the team. But the reason you need to score goals is that you can be unlucky. So yeah, that would be the priority.
Good answer.
Getting
that.
shooting boots on Bowie in the next 3 or 4 games is probably the number 1 priority for Gray.
A big mix
and
of
not being away with Scotland, I think, will be an advantage. I mean, just to be able to have an extra few days off, catching up with his family, on the grass at East Mains, or depending on the weather in the wee barn. I mean, and just getting head down.
Okay. Ian, Saturday?
I think St Mirren's confidence is going to be high after they hammered Motherwell, but they've already beaten. They got beat by Killie and Aberdeen and United, so nothing to shout at. But as usual, when you're playing St Mirren, Gogic always makes me regret the stupid decision to let him go. Bacchus and Mandron are obviously very good players, and Mikel Mandron, I didn't realise Mikel Mandron, who scored 2 in the semi-final, I didn't realise he could actually play for Scotland. He's got an Aberdonian Scottish granny, and he was actually selected. So Mikel Mandron instead of Lawrence Shanklin, I think, would be my choice. Anybody but Lawrence Shanklin, but I think we'll be doing well to get a draw. I'll be happy with a draw. St Mirren are dangerous, and they've got some very, very good players. So
score prediction, Ian?
3-2 to us.
3-2. I say happy with a draw, but 3-2 us. Nice one, Joe. What's the score going to be?
3-1 to us, with Barry getting 2.
Good stuff. Jeff?
1-0 Hibs.
Take that. John?
1-0 Hibs. That's
getting the clean sheet and the goal. All right.
I'm expecting the defence to have got a bit of a roasting this week.
Yeah.
And they'll all be wanting that 0. They'll be pissed off about the goal they lost to Aberdeen right at the end of the match. I mean, that should have been a clean sheet. It should have been a clean sheet against Rangers, and you should be confident enough to go to Livingston and get a clean sheet. So,
you know the common
fixed.
Sorry, John. The common denominator with the last 3 goals we've lost. Jack Ardale, not the penalty, but the 3. Just like he's back. He came good against Celtic in the game after that, looking good, and now he's back to the early season. Jack Ardale just looked a bit off his game. If you watch the first goal against Livy played the ball well on Saturday for the first goal. They knocked it round us. But Ardale was out of position. When he jogged back and he could have got his toe to the ball that was cut back and let the ball come across him. And the guy
it was a really good advantage played by the referee for his tackle on the halfway line.
Yeah.
But he's type 1 diabetic, so there's always a bit of me that wonders whether that's something that just can take the edge off depending on how much he's getting bounced around by it.
He's just got engaged as well, so who knows where his energies have been taken up. So congratulations on your engagement, Jack, and your, I think, his 300th career appearance as well.
Compiling the wedding list.
Matty, I'd like to thank John for lifting the mood of the phone-in tonight.
Well done, John. Right, we will wrap up there. Colin and other John will original John. I don't know.
John, other John. Yeah.
We'll be back on Friday with the preview show. We'll be on round about 4:00, 4:30, depending on when we can finish up work. So watch out for that, and then of course we'll be back with our usual Sunday episode, talking about hopefully a Hibs win on Saturday. So thanks very much, guys, for dialing in. Thanks to everybody who left comments on YouTube, and we'll see you all next time.